If you're designing a query with more than one criteria, you need to understand the and or conjunctions. These two conjunctions work very differently. In fact, in some ways, they're opposites. And a lot of people get them confused. You use and when you want to make a search more restrictive. This is because in order to qualify, records must meet multiple criteria at the same time. For example, how many people do you know who have a cat? How many people do you know who have a dog? Now, how many people do you know who have both a cat and a dog? By definition, the third number is going to be smaller because both criteria, having a cat and having a dog, must apply in order for people to qualify. Imagine if you added more criteria along the same lines. How many people do you know who have a cat and a dog and a parakeet? The more conditions you add, the narrower your search will be. This is also true in ResultsPlus queries. When you search for constituents who have given over $500 and live in a certain zip code, you'll be looking for a subset of constituents who meet both criteria at the same time. Whenever you use and, you are adding more restrictions, so you'll get fewer qualifying records. Use or when you want to make a search less restrictive. This is because in order to qualify, records have to meet just one of the criteria. So the more criteria you add, the more records you'll qualify. For example, let's say you're planning a wedding. Who are you going to invite? If you have a large budget, you'll be inviting everyone who is a friend or relative of the bride, or is a friend or relative of the groom, or who goes to church with the bride's mother, or... You get the idea. The list grows because you keep adding criteria by which more and more people qualify. When you use or, you are making the search less restrictive, so you'll get more qualifying records. Let's say you want a list of all constituents in California. If you want to include constituents in Nevada as well, would you use and or? Here's a tip. Are you narrowing the search by adding restrictions, in which case you would use and, or are you expanding the search by adding more opportunities for records to qualify, in which case you would use or? If you picked or, which conveniently rhymes with more, you'd be asking for constituents in 2 states instead of 1, which is what you want. Let's summarize. Use and to narrow your search. The more ands you use, the more restrictive your search will be. Use ors to expand your search. The more ors you use, the less restrictive your search will be. Now let's look at the step of query design where you use ands and ors. This is in step 2 of 5. Before you add any criteria to your query, only the Add to Criteria button is available. That's because you must add the first entry. Once you've done that, ResultsPlus will display both the And into Criteria and Or into Criteria buttons. When you're ready to add your next criteria, simply click the appropriate button, and ResultsPlus will add it to the selected criteria, which now reads address.state equals CA or address.state equals NV. You can learn more about using and or conjunctions and parentheses, which are very useful when you use and or together, by clicking the All Topics button on the How To tab and looking under Query Design Basics. This completes the tutorial on using ands and ors in a query.